I wonder, Chairman, if we ought not to be calling the IC before us to discuss the matter, to really investigate and determine, is this a matter of malicious prosecution, where clearly you see the inclusion of things intended to harm the declarant rather than to seek justice. These are matters that we have to explore, because it is highly inappropriate, in my view, for an investigation to be completed and for there to now be an effort to redetermine the matter. Section 7 of the Integrity Commission Act speaks directly to cooperation between other bodies and agreement and arrangements, and it allows the Commission in the performance of its functions to cooperate with any person or body that it may deem appropriate, including those bodies that it is now seeking to redetermine this matter, that it itself has concluded. It's either that the IC is turning against itself, or that you have a situation here that is exposing itself as being a matter of corruption. And I must tell you, I am very concerned, because as a nation, if we intend to address corruption, Mr. Chairman, we must ensure that those with the primary responsibility are not including any contaminated or corrupt operation in that effort. And I speak very seriously on it, boldly. This is laden with procedural irregularities. And I hear Member Paulwell saying that it has never been done. That is a weak argument in relation to addressing this matter that relates to our Prime Minister, who has been subjected to the most extensive and the most expensive investigation. And we must be very clear in ensuring that as a matter of law and principle, what is done here must be done with fairness at the forefront. Chairman, before us today is the ruling on the one matter that the Director of Investigation advanced to the Director of Corruption Prosecution. And I read, the Commission's Director of Corruption Prosecution has, pursuant to the provisions of the Integrity Commission Act, inclusive of the aforementioned sections 54.3b and 54.4 of the Act, and sections 34.1a and 34.1b thereof, reviewed the subject investigation report and has ruled that, open quotation, upon careful consideration, it was determined that no charges are to be laid, close quotation. Why is it that in the motion that has been advanced, you hear no reference to what the Director of Corruption Prosecution has determined further to an examination of what has been placed before her? The other matters that are discussed in the report were not even sufficient to be advanced to the Director of Corruption Prosecution for a determination. But now we want to tell Jamaica that we must drag a declarant, regardless of who the declarant is, through a whole new redetermination because you have failed before you completed your investigation to do your job. And I tell you, Mr. Chairman, what happens to one can happen to another. There are matters that have come before the Integrity Commission and the then Contractor General that I will raise at another place to remind members and to remind those that are making much ado of this and trying to extend it to a place where it ought not to go, of what occurred when they were the ones on trial. So, Mr. Chairman, I think that as a matter of procedure, and when you examine the process, we have no choice but to ensure that before this goes any further or anywhere else, that some questions are answered as it relates to the process, the procedure, and what I see as an unfortunate effort to extend this in an inappropriate way. There are legal principles that have to be looked on from the matter of what we call functus officio, Mr. Chairman, which is a doctrine that dictates that once you have fully exercised your authority, you don't get the opportunity to redetermine those issues. And what we have here is a clear example of an effort to extend the Integrity Commission's authority where it ought not to go. The question is why? Why? And who is supporting this? And why is it being so supported? There are other issues which I won't raise here, and I hope that the declarant, in listening, will look on the issues of mandamus and other things to determine whether or not the Integrity Commission ought not to be compelled to certify, having come down with a ruling.